Okay, there are trees all around us here in Washington, understatement of the year, but we probably take a lot of them for granted. One local author has an incredible new take. She spent one entire year exploring the changes in one tree, a red oak tree in Massachusetts, and to see how it relates to climate change. And what she found is fascinating. She talks all about it in her new book, Witness Tree: Seasons of Change with a Century-Old Oak.
So joining us this morning, Lynda V. Mapes, who is also a reporter with our news partner, the Seattle Times. Good morning.
Good morning. Delighted to be here.
This is a fantastic book. I'm looking forward to reading what we've read about it. So would you talk about this project kind of in summary for us so we have an idea where to begin here?
Sure. So as a reporter, I was looking at a way to tell the climate change story differently. Sick of the politics, tired of the angry debates, the gloom, the doom. I wanted to see if I could see climate change on the landscape, to see climate change in living things, to really take the quiet testimony of nature. So I went and I lived at the Harvard Forest for a year and focused on a single 100-year-old oak tree. And you know what? You can see climate change in just one tree. And I want people to claim this, know that their senses tell them the truth. What they see, what they hear when they're out in their garden, when they're hiking. We all know this intuitively. Spring is earlier. Fall is later. Winter is getting squeezed on both ends. Our world is changing.
Why did you choose this particular tree?
Because it was 100 years old. So it sprouted by a stone wall in New England just as Model Ts are coming off the assembly line, and our world is changing. We are beginning to go whole hog into the fossil fuel convenience that is our modern life. And nobody did this to croak the planet. They did it to live more interesting, productive, and profitable lives. I mean, as a woman, fossil fuels meant I didn't have to work in the house at, brute labor all the time. I could suddenly write books or work at a newspaper. I mean, this energy lifestyle that we've adopted wasn't intended to hurt the planet, but what we know now is that we are changing our world in ways that really matter. This is physics. It's very simple. CO2 warms the atmosphere. The more there is, the warmer it's going to get. And that affects the living world. It's changing the seasonal timing of nature. There are two seasons now, the natural seasons that are in the evolutionary timing of living things, whether they're salmon or trees, and the seasons made by us.
Let's talk about this specific tree and what you actually saw. It feels both physical and spiritual when I hear you talk about it.
This is very true. So the tree, for one thing, is incredibly beautiful. It's about 85 feet high. It's got a 60-foot wide crown spread. I picked an oak because oak is the most common species in the Northern Hemisphere. Here's what I learned. It's growing faster than ever before. CO2 actually works like a kind of fertilizer because that, after all, is carbon that plants use through photosynthesis to grow. So it's growing faster than ever because our CO2 levels now are over 400 ppm. Used to be 300. No human has ever breathed this atmosphere. We have created an atmosphere that's got more CO2 in it than in the past 800,000 years. Plants know this. They're growing differently. My tree's going faster. Not only that, it's doing it with less water. It doesn't even open the mouths on the bottom of its leaves, called stomata, as much because there's so much CO2 in the atmosphere. It doesn't have to. So here you are seeing a global phenomenon, climate change, all the way inside the cellular function of individual leaves. Incredible to me that you can see this so intimately in such a minute way when it's a global force that's changing our world. And you know what that meant to me was, you don't have to decide whether you believe climate change. That just frames it all wrong. It's an observable, physical fact. And we can see it not in the far future, far away, right here in our own backyards, in the living things around us. We also learned that the leaves are actually falling off the tree before fall completely ends because these growing seasons are so supersized, so long now. They last longer than the leaves. That was incredible to me. The idea that these trees are still on the ancestral timing, their earlier ancestors, but we have these new seasons now that they can't even keep up with.
That's crazy. And it sounds like there are so many wonderful takeaways from your book. Lynda V. Mapes, we really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you're going to be talking about this book and climate change at the Seattle Public Library next week?
Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, downtown at the Central Library. Please come join us.
all
you
the
so
details
much.
there on your screen, and your book goes on sale Tuesday
Yes.
as well. So I'm sure any local bookstores or Amazon,
Yes.
if we want to buy it, I know I'm excited to read it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here very much.